Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard the Royal Rancor. This is your captain speaking. So today we're going to be talking about a very heavy topic. What is that topic, you might be wondering? Prejudice. Prejudice and discrimination against different species throughout the galaxy. See, this might surprise you, but if you think droids are treated poorly, ooh-wee. Wait till you hear about how certain alien species, non-human species are treated throughout the galaxy. For example, Wookiees were once very much enslaved by Zerka Corporation, but we'll talk more about stereotypes today and less about history. However, if y'all want a video on species histories or cultural breakdowns, let me know in the comments below. Also, before we begin the rest of this video, I would like to announce that we now have a Discord server, which will be linked in the description below. On top of that, as per a certain couple people's request, I will actually be doing a mini-series with a short fan fiction that I wrote a while back about Jedi Master Pong Krell's disgraced Padawan. That'll be in future content. So stay tuned. Now, without further ado, let's get on with the video. So, since I brought up Wookiees already, let's go ahead and talk about Wookiees. Those who are less educated often think that Wookiees are mindless savages, very animalistic, like an ape mixed with a dog. But actually, they're quite technologically advanced. They've even developed their own form of airship, their own very powerful form of blaster, we know as the bowcaster. And Chewbacca happens to be the engineer on the Millennium Falcon, which, funny little thing, is actually quite normal for his species. So it makes sense they wouldn't just be a bunch of mindless, hairy beasts in the forest. They are intelligent beings and should be treated as such. Moving on, we have Gungans. Yeah, I know, very popular topic, especially considering I did that Darth Jar Jar video last week. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I saw that there was quite a bit of engagement there, so I think those who don't like Jar Jar might like this one. See, Gungans often get stereotyped because of Jar Jar Binks. A lot of people seem to think that Gungans are all silly and goofy and should be ashamed they even exist. Well, one, that's really harsh, and two, Jar Jar is the exception to the rule. The whole clumsy, goofy, carefree character that we see is very much the reason why he was cast out of his village. You see, the Gungans have a proud warrior tradition, and they tend to be very serious. If you don't believe me, here's a clip.
Your army is shut down, General! Misa suggests you surrender! You can't be serious! How does it feel to die? Not die. Sacrifice! Roger, now!
They have their own weaponry, their own warrior traditions. I mean, they literally gave General Grievous a run for his money. Like, I don't know what you guys just watched, but Grievous just got his butt handed to him by General Tarpals. So to underestimate a Gungan is a really bad idea. Another one we have is less a stereotype and more just a interesting bit of lore. For those of you who know what a Gand is, you might not necessarily know that a Gand doesn't really get their name until they're, they've accomplished something. But even crazier than that, Gand tend to smell like ammonia, which means, yes, they smell like cat pee. This often leads to the possible stereotype that Gand don't bathe and they are nasty and disgusting and probably pee themselves. I'm not joking, you can look it up. Gand often have the smell of ammonia surrounding them because they need it to breathe. Although not all Gand breathe. But that's a whole other topic we can talk about in a future video. Moving on, we have another fun little stereotype that all Zabraks are hot-headed and, aggressive. And I could see why you might think so. I mean, they do tend to be very adventurous, especially if they're from, actual Iridonia or even some of the colony worlds. However, not all Zabraks are like that. While they do often make great bounty hunters, just because of that natural aggression that they might have, Zabraks can often be very chill. If you don't believe me, there's been 2 Jedi that I'm aware of that we've seen on screen that are pretty chill, like Eth Koth, Agent Kolar. They're Jedi. They're basically space hippies with swords. And we can talk about that in a future video too. This next one is actually about Zeltrons. And if you don't know what a Zeltron is, they're very humanoid. They're very pink, reddish colored. They tend to have blue hair. But that's not the point here. Before we continue with them, after I tell you this stereotype, tell me in the comments who you think is hornier, Zabraks or Zeltrons. You see, Zeltrons literally have a law against bad vibes. I'm not joking. Their whole entire culture is based around hedonism. So they essentially like to do the naughty, do things I can't really talk about here on YouTube, at least not explicitly. They do it a lot. They love to do it a lot. And they like to do it with non-Zeltrons all the time. In fact, they have whole resorts on their planet, Zeltros, based around this topic. I'm not joking. You can look it up. They emit these pheromones that tend to calm people down. They also tend to be considered very attractive by most of the galaxy. So they're not a bunch of hedonists, but they do have hedonistic tendencies. Speaking of, we'll move on to the twi'leks. Now, twi'leks have a few stereotypes. Part of it is due to, the fact that so many of them are seen dancing for Hutt, enjoyment and pleasure, and so many of them are seen very scantily clad. So it's a stereotype that twi'leks tend to be very also hedonistic, just like the Zeltrons, except a lot of them are kind of forced into that. This might not surprise you, but twi'leks are very often enslaved by multiple different species. And before anyone says anything, no, you should not be down bad for twi'leks. They are people. Jokes aside. Speaking of slavery, let's move on to Hutts. Now, this is a very famous stereotype that Fats are a bunch of greedy, lazy, good-for-nothing criminals that just steal, kill, and destroy. But funny enough, there are actually multiple Hutts who are quite muscular. And they're not lazy. There's Gracchus the Hutt, there's a couple others that show up in the comics. And Hutts, they might look fat, they are very muscular. Hell, Jabba has even eaten people who tried to assassinate him by grabbing them and shoving them down his throat. So be careful when challenging a Hutt to a fight. Furthermore, while it is quite common for Hutts to be involved in the Hutt cartel and thus be criminals, some of them do legitimate business. One specific Hutt comes to mind from Star Wars Resistance, a show that I don't see talked about very much online. And there's also a Hutt from the Old Republic that, as far as I'm aware, has nothing to do with criminal enterprises except for when he's taken hostage by Taboro on Makeb, and that would be Dr. Ogorob. He's actually a Hutt scientist, and he is very finicky. He likes to be inspired. He's an artist, but he's a scientist. So his art is science, and science is his art. For any of you Old Republic players, you know Dr. Ogorob is a genius. So that's just a handful of stereotypes told to you by me, your captain. And I hope the next time you run into a Wookiee, you don't look at him as or her as a savage monster, or the next time you see a Hutt, consider the fact that you should not challenge them to a fight. And the next time you see a twi'lek, keep your hands to yourself. If you want to see this video or a video like this again, feel free to let me know in the comments below. And next time, it'll be a fan fiction. So stay tuned. Thank you. Feel free to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And may the Force be with you.
I kiss my stick,